The modern world worships feeling. Every message tells you to honor it, follow it, obey it. Yet every empire that collapsed did so when emotion replaced discipline. Feelings are weather. They pass, shift, and deceive. They whisper lies in moments of fatigue and weakness. They make mountains out of discomfort and valleys out of peace. The man who treats emotion as a compass will wander endlessly. You are not what you feel. You are what you repeatedly do despite it. Progress has never cared for emotion. It bows to consistency. Those who achieve anything monumental learned long ago that waiting for the right feeling is waiting for eternity. The body craves comfort, and the mind defends it with excuses. You tell yourself you're tired, unmotivated, uninspired, as if these are legitimate reasons to stop. They are not. Every feeling of resistance is a test designed to separate the driven from the defeated. When you act regardless of emotional state, you reclaim authority over yourself. Every time you obey your feelings, you confirm to your subconscious that it rules you. The man who pushes through lack of motivation trains his nervous system to obey command, not comfort. Over time, he becomes unstoppable, not because he always feels ready, but because he has divorced readiness from performance. Feelings are primitive impulses, relics of survival, not tools for greatness. They were designed to keep you alive, not to help you thrive. Fear once kept your ancestors safe from predators. Now it keeps you safe from potential. Laziness was once preservation of energy. Now it's the death of ambition. When you realize that feelings are not wisdom but warnings, you stop worshiping them. You start using them as data. You feel hesitation and interpret it as signal, not stop sign. You act, observe, and adapt. The man who learns to act while afraid, tired, or uncertain ascends to a level unreachable to those who seek comfort. The obsession with feeling good has made people slaves to emotion. They seek motivation before they move, validation before they start, pleasure before they produce. But the truth is brutal. Action breeds emotion, not the other way around. The dopamine you chase comes after the work, not before. The feeling you want appears only once you've earned it. You cannot think your way into discipline. You act your way into it. Every time you move through resistance, you rewrite the script your mind uses to define what's possible. The man who acts without needing to feel good becomes the one who eventually feels fulfilled. When you stop caring about emotional comfort, you free yourself from inconsistency. Consistency is born when emotion no longer dictates behavior. It is the rarest form of strength because it cannot be broken by mood. When others stop showing up because they're uninspired, you continue. When they rest because they're discouraged, you progress. The difference between mediocrity and mastery is emotional detachment. The greats don't wait for the right mindset. They build it through motion. You were not designed to feel ready. You were designed to adapt through movement. The only emotion worth chasing is pride earned from persistence. Discipline is the cure for emotional noise. The man who lives by structure never depends on feeling. He wakes up and moves because his system demands it. His body follows the pattern of his purpose. Routine removes negotiation. There is no space to wonder how he feels, only what must be done. Emotion fades in the face of structure because structure creates certainty. Certainty kills hesitation. That's why disciplined people appear robotic. They're not. They're simply free from emotional interference. Their consistency looks unnatural only to those who've never mastered themselves. Emotions will betray you when you need them most. Fear will whisper that you're not ready right before opportunity arrives. Doubt will appear when you're inches away from breakthrough. Fatigue will tempt you when you've never been closer to progress. If you wait until you feel like moving, you'll live in perpetual delay. You cannot afford to make emotions your advisors. They were never built for leadership. Learn to observe them without allegiance. Feel them, but never obey them. The man who can feel everything yet still choose logic over impulse is unstoppable. Detachment is not numbness, it is freedom. It is not about killing emotion, but about mastering its influence. You can still experience joy, excitement, even fear, but they no longer make decisions for you. Detachment is the mark of mental sovereignty. It allows you to act when others overthink, to persist when others quit, to remain steady when others break. Most people confuse detachment with apathy, but it is the opposite. It is focus so pure that nothing external can corrupt it. You feel everything yet remain grounded in direction. That is how builders think. That is how legends sustain. The mind obeys repetition. If you continuously act without emotional permission, your nervous system adapts. It begins to understand that emotion no longer dictates movement. You rewire your brain to operate on command, not condition. This is what separates those who hope from those who execute. Over time, the work that once felt impossible becomes instinctual. Action becomes identity. You no longer chase the feeling of being motivated. You've built a life that does not require it. That transformation is irreversible. The man who detaches from emotional interference becomes capable of creating on demand, regardless of circumstance. Truth reveals itself not in words, but in what you do when no one is watching. You can speak ambition, declare vision, and promise change, but without motion, every sentence rots into delusion. Action is truth because it exposes what you actually believe. The man who says he wants discipline, but refuses discomfort is lying to himself. The man who says he wants greatness but keeps choosing ease is not misinformed. He's dishonest. You can fabricate words. You cannot fabricate results. Reality has no sympathy for intent. It measures your conviction through execution. Talk is the noise of the uncertain. Action is the silence of the focused. The difference between the dreamer and the doer is not talent, it's proof. The world is filled with people addicted to the idea of progress. They study, plan, and analyze, yet never pull the trigger. They want to feel prepared before they begin. But preparation without motion becomes paralysis. Knowledge without application becomes decay. The only real measure of understanding is action. If you cannot live what you claim to know, then you do not know it. The brain records what the body practices, not what the mouth repeats. The man who acts learns 10 times faster than the one who contemplates endlessly. Because action creates data, and data creates clarity. That's why the fastest way to truth is through doing, not discussing. Action purifies intention. You can lie to others about your goals, but you cannot lie to effort. When you move, reality responds. It shows you whether your ambition is sincere or superficial. Every failure reveals where your principles end and where your excuses begin. You discover what you actually value, not what you say you value. That's why action terrifies the talkers. It strips away their illusions. It shows them that their goals were never goals, just fantasies disguised as plans. Action doesn't just expose truth, it refines it. It cuts away false identity until only authenticity remains. You find out who you are not when you speak, but when you act under pressure. Words collapse under consequence. The way you behave when things go wrong reveals your real beliefs. You can talk about confidence until you face rejection. You can preach patience until you encounter delay. You can promise courage until you stand at the edge of uncertainty. Only in those moments does the truth emerge. Action is the mirror that reflects reality without distortion. It tells you where your strength begins and where it ends. That is why men who act frequently are self-aware. They have met themselves through trial. Discipline is the language of truth. Every consistent act is a declaration louder than words. The man who shows up daily, without fanfare, speaks with his results. The quiet repetition of work is more honest than any public speech. Action removes the need for persuasion. You no longer need to convince others when your performance confirms everything. In a world where everyone performs for attention, the one who executes in silence becomes a mystery. Mystery turns into respect. Respect turns into influence. This is why the real kings do not argue. They build. Their presence becomes their statement. Action is the bridge between intention and reality. Every thought you have dies without motion. You can visualize forever, but visualization without execution is hallucination. The universe does not reward wishful thinking. It rewards participation. Life responds to those who participate in it. When you act, you set energy in motion, and that motion rearranges everything. Opportunities reveal themselves, people align, paths unfold, but only after movement begins. The man waiting for the perfect conditions will watch others build empires on imperfect ones. The man who moves in uncertainty finds direction through experience. Action creates alignment. Inaction breeds confusion. Truth does not reside in theory. It lives in impact. You can read about leadership, but until you lead under pressure, it's fiction. You can discuss resilience, but until you endure failure, it's imagination. You can talk about confidence, but until you move despite fear, it's fantasy. Words make you feel in control, but control is an illusion until tested. The door learns reality firsthand. He knows where his limits lie because he's met them. The talker lives in simulation. Only through repeated engagement with reality does wisdom form. Experience is the only teacher that speaks in truths. Action builds faith. Belief without effort is just hope disguised as laziness. But when you act, even without certainty, you start building trust in yourself. Each step becomes evidence that you are capable. That evidence compounds into self-respect. You stop needing external validation because your results become your reflection. The man who acts daily becomes his own source of conviction. Doubt fades because he no longer theorizes about potential. He lives it. Action is not only truth in the external world, it is truth within the mind. It rewires identity, reshaping who you believe yourself to be. Excuses vanish in the face of execution. You cannot argue with outcome. Either you did or you didn't. That binary simplicity is liberating because it eliminates the noise of justification. When you live by action, you stop hiding behind narratives. You no longer debate what's possible, you prove it. The man of action does not need to defend his choices because results defend him. He no longer wastes time convincing people of his vision. He shows them. That is why movement is the ultimate form of communication. It's a universal language spoken only by the few who dare to live honestly.